appointed hour for our council meeting.
Bang that thing.
You think I need to do that? There you go.
There we go.
It's the appointed hour, and the first item that I will address is how to address it Lexington City Council. So these are the guidelines. Public comments are always welcome, and I invite you to sign up if you wish to speak tonight. I will recognize those signed up during the citizens' remarks section of the council's agenda. Citizens who wish to speak to council but neglect to sign up in advance may be permitted to address council during the citizens' remarks and comments agenda item, but only at the discretion of the vice mayor. When speaking to the city council, I ask that these guidelines be followed. Number one, once recognized to speak, please come forward, stand at the podium, and for the record, state your name and if you are a resident of Lexington, Virginia. If you want to be contacted after this meeting tonight, please provide your contact information to our council clerk. And number two, please make your comments to the council as a whole and not engage with the audience. 3, please be brief, state your position, and provide facts. 4, please provide written statements and/or supporting materials to the clerk for distribution to the council and the city manager. 5, debate is prohibited. This is a time for you to share your thoughts and ideas with your city council. 6, please speak clearly as we want to hear what you have to say. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes and individuals may not yield their allotted time to another person. If you represent a group, 5 minutes are allotted and you are invited to identify other members of your group who are in attendance. The council tonight, the vice mayor may allow exceptions to these guidelines at their discretion. I remind us that all meetings of the city council are formal proceedings and are recorded. Thank you. So Mayor Friedman is not with us this evening, but this is definitely temporary, as I have forbidden him to ever leave his position permanently while I am on city council. The next item is the Pledge of Allegiance, and if you will join me, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is actually the consideration of the agenda. And I would just like to suggest a slight modification of the placement of our guests this evening, who are placed under proclamations rather than presentations. That's okay. Yeah. Just want to make sure our guests know when it's time to come up to the podium. So it's just a typo and that doesn't change the flow of the meeting. So council, are there any other changes that you have? Okay. Being no others, the agenda is approved. There are no proclamations to present, but we do have presentations. And first on the list is a minute in history with our local historian, Eric Wilson, Executive Director of the Rockbridge Historical Society.
Daryl's gonna.
Oh, okay. Welcome.
Madam Vice Mayor, members of council, thank you for having us. I promise to be brief. I'm not sure about my colleague, but I will be brief. What you have before you, our BA 250 local committee, which Councilman Betts and Jen Bell are both a member of. We have been meeting regularly, and I have provided you with a marketing toolkit that we will have downloadable from this website. So this is the page on the tourism website about the Rockbridge 250. You're welcome to look at it. It talks about the new passport and all of the events that we have scheduled so far. And I wanted to go through we've been talking about this for probably 2 years now. And so finally, some things are coming to fruition. So I wanted to tell you about some things that are coming up this summer. So the Rockbridge Outdoors Fest will be in June, and that will be at Glenmorey Park. And this festival will also include things like a 250 swimming race, 250-meter swimming race, things like that, which we're really proud that the Lexington City Pool will be doing. The Lexington Rockbridge Juneteenth explores freedom, resilience, and the pursuit of liberty, and we're partnering with them. The Freedom Food Festival, of course, on June 3rd. Food, history, community celebration, local heritage, balloons over Rockbridge. These are all typical events we have, but they are all doing, a little something extra about the 250th anniversary of our country. The Rockbridge Community Festival in August will actually have the VA 250 museum, mobile museum there. And then the Rockbridge the Rockbridge Regional Fair has approached us, and they want to do demonstrations on 1700s farming techniques. So I think we really started to connect with some folks, and I'm really proud of that. And I'm really proud of this marketing toolkit that we can send out to all of our tourism partners, all of our local officials, so you know how you can get involved. There are different things on there. There are, social media posts, there are hashtags, there are ways to, do an event of your own. So that's new for us, and that will be released. You're getting the first look at it, and that will be released in the next couple of weeks. So if you have any questions for me.
Any questions for Sharon?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very grateful to Cheryl as co-chair of the committee for putting that together. It's an impressive document and be useful for a lot of people. Our big theme this year has been to make sure we can downstream this to citizens, to groups. So this year, we hope the ideas are coming to us. I just want to show you here. Let's see, how do I slide that down? Oh, I just did okay. Okay. The other pages here, this is our own committee page. So Lexington has those resources, events. This goes out statewide. Okay, so this is one place where people can see resources. Our series coming up, looking ahead to the summer. I'll come back to the Rockbridge Black History Month event to close. I want you to see, I know this is tiny type, and the point is not really to see it in full. I want you to know how much is happening this year. Cheryl just gave you a glimpse basically of what's happening this summer. We've got about 80 events on the calendar that one way or another are drawing different kinds of community groups, from regular series like the Revolutionary Books and Film series, parades. Some of these are from Chamber of Commerce, universities, all sorts of things. Right now, this calendar is not live in public. This is something we're developing. Our next advisory meeting, we have, I believe, the 18th, weather willing. We'll gradually start to approve that. And we'll have that available in some ways that are going to help cities identify some things down the line. So we'll make this available to you, but VMI, for instance, will be doing its musical production of 1776 in mid-April. I don't know if you've ever seen that film. Cheeky, but it'll be good live theater. So whether they're outdoor things with State Park History Day, we're bringing the president of Monticello here for a series of events in the fall. There's a lot going on. I think what Cheryl said about things are starting to come to fruition is right. I think the branding of 250 at large is now making its point with the logo on footballs, and all the programs I think are putting people in a position to recognize what that is. It's now our job to make that local this year and the next 2 years. So I'll close by just noting what's coming in this month. So RHS Black History Month series, we're focusing around the theme of Black soldiers and workers during World War II. So on Tuesday, we've got a film series. If you've not seen the 6888, it's a wonderful film about American leadership. You can also see it on Netflix, but come for the free pizza party and join us. We're getting hopefully a lot of high school students there, some leaders from VMI. On the 15th is our community program. I'll be presenting some of the local profiles. The man you see here was a Tuskegee Airman, returned to work at the Buena Vista Carpet Factory that received its own National Wartime Production Award. So looking to get stories from families whose ancestors of family histories of any sort were part of those efforts will be part of our work. And on the 25th, we'll close with the book series with this book that's really about the Double V campaign to fight fascism abroad and racism at home. It's a popular book. It's written by a Dartmouth professor, but very well written. Councilman Betts isn't busy enough, so I dropped a book in your mailbox yesterday. Expect that to be done by the 25th, but do your city budget homework first, please. Lots on offer. You know where to find us and our committee members. We're feeling the momentum is good. There's a lot of work this year, and then we reboot to January 24th, 2028, when Lexington and Rockbridge will turn its own 250th clock, and we'll figure out what to do from there. So thank you.
Any questions for Eric?
Thank you for the tremendous amount of work, and seeing the calendar of the 80 events is really amazing too. And I think getting that up live would be really helpful in planning ahead.
If someone wants to get on the calendar, what's the best way to do that?
Best way to get on the calendar, I think, do we want them to go through the visitor center, right? I mean, I think so. Either contact Cheryl directly or go through the visitor center portal, and then we can layer it from there.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you're doing, not only for the 250 project, but also for Black History Month. It's amazing what you all do for both of these projects, and also for Black History Month. It's celebrated in February each year, but thanks to you, all of our history is celebrated throughout the year. We thank you.
2027 is the centennial of Downing, and we're going to be talking about that. That's a big thing, countywide school right here in our community that we work to sustain. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Eric.
Good. Next on the agenda, small towns, Lexington, Virginia. Our representatives here? Great.
Hello, y'all. Thanks you for having us tonight. I am Evan Clark. I am a resident of Lexington as a student and founder of Strong Towns Lexington, VA.
Hi, my name's Natalie Egger, and I'm a co-founder of Strong Towns Lexington, VA, and also a resident of Lexington.
And we are here today along with about 5 or 6 members in the audience who have attended our meetings in the past to introduce our organization, provide clarification about what we do and how we can truly complement the important work of the City Council. Basically, we are a not-for-profit, nonpartisan community advocacy organization. And while part of a national movement called Strong Towns that has hundreds of local conversations rooted in other cities, our structure is defined by being completely member-driven and committed to hyper-local change since our founding this past summer.
We'd also like to mention, while we are both current W&L students, our thoughts and opinions are our own and are independent from and not supported by any established institutions.
So we hope you saw in your meeting packet today, there is a 2-page brochure that highlights some of the things we want to build off of that, provide further clarification. But to start, allow me to read our mission statement that is printed there. It is to empower all citizens of Lexington, VA and the Rockbridge area to actively shape a more people-focused, resilient, and livable city. There's a lot there, so let's delve into it. By all citizens, we emphasize a conversation about Lexington's future between diverse populations, diverse communities, different legislative bodies, across municipalities and borders, and all the way from the top to the bottom. And to quote, speaking of top, to quote our wonderful Mayor Frank Freedom from the last City Council meeting on January 15th, he said, "I firmly believe through dialogue and questions, we come up with better results. Anytime we hear from our neighbors, and as usual, we don't always have to agree, but it's good to share perspectives." We believe at Strong Towns that Mayor Friedman really hit the nail on the head with that one. Of course, we're going to disagree on specific steps of how to navigate the uncertainties of Lexington's future. And of course, we're going to have overlapping missions across local organizations, but we surely can't do nothing about our built environment. And especially as young people that make up a lot of Lexington's population, we're going to be inheriting and reimagining a lot of this infrastructure together.
Continuing on with that, it's only together with as many neighbors at the seat of the table and in meeting rooms like this that the city will make progress on the stated goals of the Lexington Comprehension Plan, which we realized aligns very well with some of our principles. For example, the comp plan stresses housing options, and a key principle of our organization is human-centered planning, basically supporting initiatives that support walkability, bikeability, sort of connectivity, and just make for a significantly more livable city for the individuals in Lexington.
The comprehensive plan also highlights economic opportunities, and we have that as one of our pillars, is being financial resilience. We know finances are a key factor in driving policy, both in this room and for our systems at large. Thus, we apply our knowledge and acknowledgement of assets and liabilities to anchor our conversations in economic and long-term sustainability. We do so and achieve that by way of continuous adaptation and collectively overcoming obstacles and some of our economic realities, such as how 2/3 of our tax base is tax exempt. These are things that we must continue to remember and work through together.
Another one of our guiding principles is smart, efficient land use. We don't necessarily agree with the promises of separate Euclidean zoning and would love to prompt sort of our built environment to embrace more mixed use options that again really promote livability and access for all citizens through the zoning codes and sort of underlying layers of the built environment.
Our last principle that we want to talk about today is bottom up in community engagement. As the engine of strong towns, strong citizens are informed and engaged and thus better support public and civic action. We fully embrace the fact that the built environment affects our citizen and our experience in the city daily, but citizens can also have a daily impact on the built environment in more ways than periodically casting a vote. We shouldn't wait until the next election or controversial issue to advocate for our places, to advocate for the places that we especially love and attend public meetings as such.
We'd like to now discuss sort of what does Strong Towns offer to Lexington and otherwise why Strong Towns. So we offer a specific dedicated space and time for the conversations, collaboration, and connection building between the citizens of Lexington and beyond. We host monthly meetings every second Wednesday at 5:30, typically in the Piovani room of the library. And these meetings are structured topically, and they emphasize education and bringing attention to local issues.
And how exactly do we lead these monthly conversations? Basically, we use data-driven approaches sourced from other similarly situated strong towns groups across the nation, but also important local resources and reports. In the end, we try to bring these sustainable and incremental methods to a more thorough evaluation of public investments?
Through our approach, we aim to acknowledge the realities of our systems to better prepare for the many current and future disruptions that we think we might face on the horizon, such as increasingly severe climate consequences, of which we have sort of already been experiencing in Lexington as the historic rain events, which are currently stressing our aging storm infrastructure.
Absolutely. We really need to ready ourselves for real possibilities coming our way, such as what's been on my mind, that we have a new governor here in Virginia, and she's promised to make significant investments in affordability. I can imagine a situation here in Lexington where we are allocated a sum of money for tackling housing access or walkability. And ideally, we should be acting without hesitation because our city council and our governing bodies already have an intimate connection and awareness of our community's needs. Ultimately, Strongtown's Lexington VA serves as an intersection between community members, the major institutions we have here, and all levels of government. At this important intersection, we connect the real experience of Lexingtonians to the incredibly useful vocabulary of new urbanism, some of which you've already heard thrown around here today. But in the end, we want to result in more holistic dialogues and policies.
Finally, we'd just like to mention some of the non-meeting activities that we hold in addition to our meetings. For a quick recap of what these have been, in the past 7 months, we've held 7 meetings. We've hosted a walk audit, we've done a workshop, and hosted quite a few collaborations with other local organizations, and as we are right now, attended countless city meetings. In the future, we're excited to explore the possibilities of bike audits, perhaps transit audits, and come springtime, we would love to host bike lessons as well.
So to round it out, we are all about dialogue. So we do have some questions for the members of City Council. If you can answer as appropriate, or we can, continue this conversation through the long term. But this is something that we would find, here's some ideas that we would find useful for really implementing our mission here in Lexington. My question is, what are some immediate actionable steps that we as strong citizens can realize in pursuit of the powerful vision set by our 2020 comprehensive plan?
I think one of the ideas that I have about asking the questions, perhaps you could send those to us by email, and then we will all respond separately, so that you can have a fresh perspective from all of us. Would that be okay with you all?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
We welcome that. Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and there was just 2 questions, so we will be able to follow up and continue that dialogue. And now that's all we have for you guys tonight. We open any questions for what we are all about as an organization, or some of the ideas we have in the back of our head,
Your ideas are great. And the part that I like has to do with the fact that you all are not from here. So you're looking at Lexington with a fresh set of eyes. And that is encouraging, that we can get more ideas from people other than from us, or from people who are here every day, years and years on end. So that provides us with more perspectives, and that's important. And your positive, constructive collaborations with us, as well as other organizations, your communications with everyone, especially council, that all of that's encouraged, and we appreciate that. And the work you all did at to help with the sidewalk idea, you're on point. Thank you
So much.
You don't have questions, comments?
I know that y'all were working on some graphs and some data points. Is that something that you all are still doing?
Yeah, that data, translating data and complex, reports that are done through city studies is part of our mission. We want to serve as that intersection between these large data sets and ways that are comprehensible for the average citizen. So an example with that is we are calculating how much of Lexington is covered, surface area covered by parking, and really trying to wrestle with what does that statistic actually mean. We also use a lot of land value per acres, thinking about how we can really maximize the economic output and sustainability overall of all of our land. We see land as just the most vital of resources that is worth advocating for.
Is that something you can view on your website or? Okay.
Yeah, we have a section on the website that's I believe titled Data, Graphs, and More. But I'd also like to mention both Evan and I have backgrounds in data science and are very comfortable with sort of making visualizations and interpreting that data. So that's good.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Just one, I appreciate your enthusiasm, and as Marilyn has said, what you're bringing to the table and a new perspective. I've only had the opportunity to attend one of your meetings, which I enjoyed. I thought it was very good conversations that we had. And after the meeting, I was thinking, reflecting on it, a particular role that you can play. And that is that when I first came to Lexington and we were beginning the revision of the comprehensive plan, so this is the one that's being revised now, Rockbridge Conservation organized a series of forums, topical forums, and brought in outside speakers, helped us to think about things differently by topic. So they weren't necessarily driven by a template, and that's somewhat what I think Strong Towns comes in with, a template at times. It was a bit more open to getting dialogue going, which is just what you're trying to do around topics and going into depth with that. So I see you playing an important role that way in your monthly meetings, because our other meetings, Planning Commission, for example, are agenda driven, and they're very hard at times to go into any depth. The other question I had for you is, are you having an opportunity to go through the chapters of the comprehensive plan as it's being revised now?
Yeah, us too, and multiple of our members have been routinely attending the planning commission meetings. We really see that reevaluation of the comprehensive plan as a key point for advocacy, and also just as a
But
base
are
level.
you reviewing the chapters as
Yeah.
they're being read? I mean, the new ones, have you made comments to them, on them?
We haven't made
specifically?
any public comments. We do see them come in and always look through the meeting packets. Some of them have been delayed, and we're looking forward to continuing to advocate with them and get more people in the room at the very least, and really invested in this process.
I know you have that vision,
Mm.
but that's good. Keep going for it. But also, I think the revised chapters would benefit from specific comments that you may have. That's the most important thing, because that in 5 years from now, when none of us are here, that will be guiding principles.
Yeah, and then we also see those public input sessions, the 3 of them that are offered in this comprehensive review
Mhm.
process. We make it very intentional to promote that to our members and our mailing lists, and consistently attend those and provide all those ideas. And that informal setting is definitely something we have already been making use of. But generally, as far as reading the comprehensive plan, we do promote that to our members, because especially as newcomers to Lexington, it's a great way to learn about some of the key historical contexts and what is going to shape Lexington's future.
So are you finding that in your meetings, you are capturing an audience that would not typically come to a city council meeting?
Completely, yeah. The meetings are a really diverse group that is bridging a lot of populations. Maybe some meetings are a third to a fourth W&L students, and there's also been elected officials consistently at our meetings, which we really appreciate bridging that divide. We hope to get more VMI students in the room, but we also have consistently small business owners and farmers from the county. So we are very intentionally not limited to the municipality of Lexington. The Borders is not going to stop our advocacy for all these systems, because, for example, our transportation systems, they obviously rely on BV and cooperation with the county. And so there's consistently members or residents outside of Lexington that come to our meeting. And that's really special to hear how their perspectives of accessing our downtown, and that symbiotic relationship is really important, that we never, will turn someone away just because they don't have their address in Lexington. I feel the best way to sum up our target audience is anyone in the zip code 24450, like that broader pool.
That covers a large area.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you. Very interesting. Great work.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't have any public hearings tonight, so let's move on to the minutes. Is there any objection to approving the minutes of January 6th and January 15th? Okay. They're not hearing any, so they are approved. And thank you, Kate, as always, for your great work capturing minutes. That is not an easy task. Citizens' remarks, you have some? Okay, we have one that's crossed out, but Mary Ellen Cook, would you like to come on up? Welcome.
Welcome.
There you
Um,
go.
Thank you for having me. Mary Ellen Cook. I live at 4 North Lewis Street here in Lexington. This evening, as I spent a few hours poring over old newspaper articles from the last year related to the golf course reconstruction. And I would just like to put forth my opinion on the most recent development. But as I was walking out the door this evening to make this presentation, I opened up the Rockbridge Advocate, and of course, on page 20, it said, "Golf course revamp pours silt into Woods Creek." So, and I really think that it's that the majority of the land on the golf course is within the county limits, but there's a little over 20 acres with that the city has on the golf course. And then there's all those externalities of what they're doing on the golf course spilling over, especially into Woods Creek, which to me is mostly in our dear city. So let me just read my little presentation and then I will sit down. A request on the part of the Lexington Golf and Country Club partnering with WNL for a water permit from the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality should not, I repeat, should not be granted until most, if not all, of the environmental impacts are addressed. Citizen concerns have been well expressed in our local newspapers and conservation meetings. To list a couple, one would be the traffic during construction and beyond, and two, lights and noise associated with the pickleball courts. I was at the city council meeting when this was discussed. But I care more about the environment. I am a retired soil scientist from with USDA. So it's the environment that really concerns me more. So moving on to environmental concerns, we need to monitor. To list a few, they are how carefully we use herbicides and fertilizers in the replacement of the golf course grass. Second, riparian area integrity. Third, stream bank stabilization. 4, the testing of well water. 5, the testing of surface water. 6, the testing of groundwater. 7, the testing of sediment, especially the sediment that has been transported from the golf course to Woods Creek. We would be looking for contaminants, including the nutrients, the organic compounds, PFAS, those forever chemicals, And finally, getting firm data as to how much water can be removed from Woods Creek to feed the irrigation pond on the golf course without destroying the ecosystem along Woods Creek. As we move forward, transparency is absolutely necessary. If problems persist, enforcement with work stoppage and fines should be expected. Thank you. Mary Ellen Cook.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Your level of expertise is phenomenal, and we appreciate what you can bring to the table. Thank you.
Thanks, Marilyn.
Thank you, Mary Ellen.
If you didn't get a chance to sign up for comments and you'd like to speak, you may do so now if you like. Anyone? Okay. Let's move on to reports and communications. First, we have Blue Ridge Resource Authority.
No report.
No report. Main Street Lexington.
Main Street Lexington staff and board spent a good portion of January fulfilling annual reporting requirements, including our community self-assessment, which is mandatory for our accreditation for Main Street and Virginia Main Street and Main Street America. We're busy planning for the year ahead, including several fundraising initiatives to supplement the funding that we already get from the city. January has generally been a little slower than normal for this year. And so Main Street is working on some small scale marketing and promotional initiatives for the weeks ahead, including for Valentine's, and starting to brainstorm some ideas how we can better assist our businesses during the winter. Main Street feels strongly supportive of the efforts and successes that Public Works had getting downtown Central Business District back and up and running in the quick fashion that they did. That's the conclusion of my report.
Thank you,
Any
sir.
questions?
Well, I do have one question. You said it was a little bit slower this year. Is that compared to last year or just in general?
Just slower than normal.
Okay.
So January, February are notoriously pretty slow in retail, and this year it's a little bit slower.
Thank you.
So do what you can.
Yeah.
Chuck, have there been any discussions about the Christmas parade and how that
No,
all came about?
that news cycle has flipped. There was some frustration, of course. And I think once all the facts were laid out and the information was provided after the fact, I think that calmed some folks down, and Main Street has taken into looking into scheduling a rain date in case we do have another episode like we had last year.
Awesome. Thanks.
And
Jeremy?
we did refund all the entry fees to the folks that entered if they did so request.
Jeremy's last statement was very helpful to calm things down.
Yep.
Much appreciated. Planning Commission, Ms. Strawn.
Planning Commission met on January 22nd, and we unanimously approved a certificate of appropriateness for exterior improvements for a Chipotle restaurant at 100 Walker Street. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully
should-
that'll help with the meals tax.
Yes, hopefully I agree.
Any other comments, concerns, questions? No? Regional Tourism,
Yeah, Tourism Round 10 event sponsorship awards were Youth Equestrian Development Association, National Championship Week, $2,500, Bull and Oyster Festival, $2,200, Echo Adesso Art and Wine Festival, $1,500, Mr. Jefferson's Birthday, a celebration, $1,200, Coffee and Cars, $1,000. Lexington, Rockbridge, and Buena Vista Juneteenth 800, and Rockbridge Ballet, Firebird 800. This was a competitive round. We actually had a few applicants that were not funded. There has been an increased interest in these sponsorships, and the decisions get tougher and tougher every round. Budget, tourism expects to have a balanced budget this year, and then we also there may be an announcement regarding Lexington's new board member for the Rockbridge Regional Tourism Board soon. So we asked somebody may be interested that we have in mind, and next report I may have that person to report who our new board member is.
Anyone have questions for Mr. Betts? Okay, thank you, sir. Raro.
The RARO Board of Directors met yesterday. Our staff continues to work on the FY27 budget with Finance Director Jen Bell. And of course, we keep the other localities informed of any decisions or things that are going to be in that budget, since there's a cost share formula. Spring sports registration is ongoing right now. It will conclude on the 18th of this month. Our spring sports are primarily softball and baseball. Pickleball has now been expanded to 4 days a week if you would like to play under the auspices of RARO. And so that's something that continues to grow, and we're appreciative of everyone that takes part in that program. As far as fall, looking ahead to fall, we've had tremendous success by joining with the Allegheny Youth Football League with our athletes, and there's been interest to even have now our youngest have an opportunity to compete against teams that are just, 40 minutes away. And so that's something that with our teams, so when they're all here in Buena Vista and Lexington, they play each other over and over and over. And this is something that the coaches and even the families are excited about, that you would have maybe 3 away games, but then you'd also have the 3 home games, and you'd have the opportunity to play other kids, other localities. And so that's something that we, as you recall, we dipped our toe into that now 3 or 4 years ago with the oldest kids, and really not knowing about the response that we would get if parents wanted that just yet to drive, and they love it. And I think our kids love it. And so that's something that we will continue to evaluate, and we might be able to launch that this fall. But that concludes my report.
Questions? Anybody?
Is there going to be some type of like a championship or something like that between the localities?
There have been championships each year that we've played in the Allegheny Youth Football League, and it's predetermined who will host the Super Bowl. Couple times it's been the Buena Vista team versus the Lexington team here in Lexington at Brubaker under the lights. Sometimes as it works out, it might be, both of the, a team from Craigsville or Bath County or something over there, and it happens over there, but it's predetermined so that it's fair who hosts the Super Bowl, and the kids love it, and the attendance is tremendous when those Super Bowls happen. So yes, that's great.
Anyone else? Thank you, David. Next, Threshold. Threshold met a few days after the applications opened for the Homeowner Helper Program. There had been 2 inquiries made, and applications were sent off to them. The application deadline is in March, but if we don't get much traction this go around, we can extend that deadline. The procurement process has started in order to get bids on the work to be performed on homes, and a pamphlet is being developed for contractors, especially the local contractors. Ads for the Homeowner Helper Program have been in the News Gazette, and the staff are working with the advocate for their future edition for information to go out in that newspaper. And a flyer will be going out in the water bills to remind homeowners of the program and how to apply. And there are some documents that were under review by our attorney to ensure compliance, and we'll know more about those at the next meeting. Historic Lexington Foundation, HLF, has a renovation project themselves, and staff will be meeting with them to determine if and how our program aligns with theirs for any potential partnership opportunities. We talked about what we're going to do in the future now that we have the homeowner helper program started. And in terms of future projects, Threshold, the land bank discussion is actually in the works. We have already addressed blighted properties, but the land bank program will require development guidelines, et cetera. And so we'll be thinking about how to make that work with this within the community. Also, the housing chapter of the comp plan will be under review, and we'll be needing to be thinking about updating those goals. The next meeting is on the fourth Wednesday, February 25th at 4 p.m. Nick, do you have anything else to add?
Covered it.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. All good. If we can move on to the mayor's report. He did not send anything for me to report to you, but I would like to take the opportunity to thank Public Works, the police department, for coordinating efforts for street closures for both parades in January and all the precautionary measures that were taken to keep participants safe. I happened to be in town by that Monday, so I was out early in the morning on Monday, and I saw personally the extra efforts made by Lexington Police Department to ensure that there were no problems. Also, for the massive efforts taken by Public Works to remove snow in one of the most challenging snow events that I've ever seen here. We have been challenged with large amounts of snow, of course, but the ice involved here was a nightmare trying to move, whether it was Public Works, whether it was contractors, residents, or business owners. I think we're going to have mountains of snow even in April. We have so much. Surely there were frustrations, but we were fortunate that we did not lose power. So we can be thankful for that. And also many thanks to our city manager for fielding the complaints and doing all the problem solving to keep things running as smoothly as possible. So props to everyone involved. City manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Just want to echo your comments regarding Public Works. They did an outstanding job in a very difficult snowstorm. We have not been overly aggressive in terms of enforcing sidewalk shoveling requirements, but as the weather warms and the ice blocks are breaking up, we're going to encourage residents to do their civic duty and shovel the snow over this upcoming weekend so that we have a pedestrian-friendly town and life can get back to more normal, though I do also agree with the Vice Mayor that we will have snow until April in some places, but hopefully not on our sidewalks. Today I had the opportunity with Councilmember Strawn and Councilmember Sigler to go to Richmond for the local government day, where we had a number of meetings with state senators, state delegates, very productive meetings. There's a lot moving in the state legislature. We may provide more information about that soon, but it was a very productive and enjoyable day. And so I appreciate the opportunity to go to Richmond with them today. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. I noticed that today with all the melting going on, what's happening is that water is now icing over and causing people to have some accidents. So it's important to get that cleaned up. City Attorney.
Actually, no report from me this evening, Madam Vice Mayor. I'm happy
Okay.
to answer any questions about things I'm working on currently if you have any.
Any legal questions for our attorney?
No, but when he's done, David will give an update on our trip.
Would you like to do that now?
Yeah, I'll be very brief. I just wanted to highlight, what we did in about 13 hours today. We left just after 6 o'clock. And we got to Richmond. We attended a meeting held by Virginia First Cities. As you recall, Kelly Harris Braxton is the executive director. There was an excellent meeting, just interfacing with cities large and small from the Commonwealth of Virginia. From there, we went to the VML meeting. We heard from the Secretary of Finance, Mark Sickles. We also heard from the Secretary of Natural and Historic Resources, which was very beneficial, along with a bunch of staffers talking about different bills that we should be keeping an eye on or concerned about or advocating for. From there, we went to the General Assembly building and we went from the 6th floor to the 8th floor, to back down to the 6th floor, down to the 1st floor. That's kind of what you do on this day. Anytime you find out where a delegate may be or a senator, you kind of run down and you try to find them. And so we met with numerous people. We met with a staffer for Senator Deeds. We met with Senator Head, and we talked about some important topics. We met with Jarrett Harlow from Delegate Ellen McLaughlin's office. We met with Matt Miller from Delegate Terry Austin's office. And then we met with Melanie Marte, a staffer from Delegate Helmer's office. We met with Delegate Helmer just to uplift the importance of House Bill 792, which is our change to our city charter that has encountered a couple issues in the House. And we were trying to convey what would be best for the city of Lexington. And so that's what we met with Delegate Helmer's staffer. With the other delegates and their staffers, we hit on a few main topics. We talked about the importance of VMI to the city of Lexington, Rockbridge County, and the entire region. We know that they're important because of what they do as far as the local economy. We know what they do because of the importance of their cadets in the local schools and in the whole area. We know what they do when their alumni come back and help Lexington and Rockbridge County. And then we, of course, know how we all have friends that are alumni that have served the country or served the Commonwealth. And so we talked about the importance of VMI and our support for VMI with some of the challenges that they're going through in the House right now. We also talked about the importance of having the option to investigate that school funding bill. It's not something that anyone really wants to talk about and get excited about, that potential local option of an additional 1% sales tax if the citizens approve it via a referendum. But we uplifted having the option to investigate it, similar to another 8 cities and counties that already have that option. We would love that expanded statewide to all localities. And we received good feedback on that. And then another important topic that we conveyed, but also I'll tell you a lot of the larger cities were worried about, was a lot of this top-down or Richmond out zoning that could occur, where there's a lot of bills where Richmond would set the zoning guidelines for a lot of areas and kind of nullify the work that the Planning Commission, the City Council, that our citizens have done in our comp plan and so forth. And they would just ignore what citizens might believe through collaboration is best for their city or their area. And so that is a concern we spent a lot of time talking to the vice mayor of Harrisonburg as he talks about being in a college town and their challenge of having college housing or residential or this whole thing. And it was interesting to see this through his perspective. And of course, we might be smaller, but we have the same perspective on zoning and housing and what may be appropriate based on what we know as planning commissioners or council members or just the general public, because these bills that are coming from Richmond would essentially remove the public completely from the process of land use decisions on some topics. And so that was something that we just shared our concern with. So I think those were our main topics. Again, it was a great trip. We got back at 6:54, just a few minutes before the meeting. So it was a great day. And we appreciate, Tom did all the driving and LPD loaned us a vehicle. And so we just got in the left-hand lane and went, but we had a good trip. So thank you.
Who had the back seat?
I did again.
Oh, no.
I always ride in the back of the police car.
Terrible trip.
I may just, we did not have a cage in the back seat of this vehicle. This was a command vehicle. So David was in quite the comfort in the back seat.
Those are the hardest seats you can sit on. I failed to mention whether anybody had any unfinished business. There was nothing listed there, so I skipped over it, but I just want to make sure if anybody on council has any unfinished business that we need to discuss.
Well, just thanks to everybody that went to Richmond, and it sounds like y'all covered a lot of ground and did some good work for the city of Lexington.
Thank you for the excellent summary.
Can we ask questions?
Absolutely.
Okay. What's the motivation behind the Richmond overreach in zoning to localities. I see this come up every now and again that the capital in Richmond thinks they know better what the towns and cities should do versus the towns and cities. I have a hard time comprehending that.
And it's especially strong this year. I mean, we were told from some of the staff folks from VML and First Cities that they were explicitly told, in the past, they've always advocated for let the localities make local decisions. And they were explicitly told that we are going to help. And we benefit a little bit because we're less than 20,000. So some of the worst bills won't necessarily affect us. But it is, in my opinion, frightening how many bills there are where they're going to specify what our zoning is. And
When you talk to staffers, did you or VA First Virginia First Cities or VML, did they have an explanation on why this has gathered so much momentum and gotten so much traction?
I guess the legislators feel like they want to make some progress in some areas, specifically on housing, and they feel like they know best, which it was expressed to them that the localities know how to implement it in their areas best, and that was not accepted.
I would just add to that. I agree. I would simply add that I think the priority that is got so much momentum, and understandably so, is we need to create a lot of housing in Virginia. We're at a crisis standpoint in terms of affordability. So the goal of the General Assembly that was articulated is we need to get out of the way in any way possible for anything that impedes the creation of housing. And that is the spirit with which these laws are coming from. So on one hand, you clearly understand we need housing, we need a massive amount of it, and we should endorse that, and especially affordable housing. On the other hand, if we think zoning is a blunt instrument, this legislation is going to just take the citizen out of the local decision-making process, as Councilmember Strawn articulated, and Councilmember Sigler articulated. So there's a good intent, but I think there'll be a whole host of unintended consequences for exactly the reason that you articulated.
Were there any bills discussed where they would put more funding towards housing to try to incentivize housing construction in that manner?
Is that a rhetorical question? Because I think, no, I don't. I mean, there are funding bills, but I don't think that there's a lot of extra money.
Balanced approach and, could
Yeah.
potentially be helpful to the Commonwealth.
One of the other meetings because we had so many meetings, another meeting that we had was with an individual that is in the newly formed office within the governor's area. She created a new office, essentially the director of local government, and that has never existed before. And there are two individuals that are staffing that office. And we met with one of them, Russell Swartz, and we talked about with Mr. Swartz about, our city and the importance of I don't want to say local control, but I mean, just, knowing ourselves pretty well and having good processes of the planning commission and citizen input and council. And we raised that with Mr. Swartz, in addition to talking about other issues and inviting him to Lexington. We even mentioned that we may have an application for dam removal or repair at some point, but that was another meeting. But that someone that is not in the House or in the Senate that we talked to, that is a little bit even closer to the governor, that we expressed our concern about overreach, if you will. Can I add two more things about our visit today that I forgot to say? Today was also a special day at the General Assembly because Pastor Adam Schultz from Good Shepherd Lutheran Church gave the opening prayer in the House of Delegates today. And today, the Senate passed House Joint Resolution 80 that was previously passed on Tuesday, which is a joint resolution honoring the life of George Otis Meade III. And so I think everyone in this on council and a lot of people in Lexington and Rockbridge County would uplift that joint resolution that was sponsored by Delegate Austin, co-patroned by Senator Head and Delegate Ellen McLaughlin. And so Otis Mead, of course, a huge figure in Lexington and Rockbridge County. And so that was passed today by voice vote in the Senate. And so that's on its way to the governor. So kind of exciting day.
Great news.
Can I add one more thing? Just a little more detail on the VMI bill, specifically regarding the task force. I know all of us have received numerous emails asking for a resolution, and having had conversations with each member of council, I know council was in favor of supporting VMI in some way. That bill was amended to where it is no longer dealing with removing state funding. There will be a task force. It was a compromise reached between the sponsor and VMI, General Furness, sorry, and to something that both parties agreed on, and that was voted on today by the House, and it was approved. A number of Republicans approved it, including Delegate Austin and Delegate McLaughlin, and which is why we're not considering a resolution at this time. So that issue seems to be progressing. It will go to the Senate as well, but it did have some bipartisan support.
It's encouraging to see bipartisan
Right.
support for VMI, which is important to Lexington, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and the United States of America.
So the other bill about losing the funding, is that gone?
That was the one, the task force that would consider losing the funding. That part has been taken
Part
out
of
as
that-
far as,
that bill,
yeah, right.
okay.
The other bill's still there, but didn't sound like much was happening yet.
Okay. Okay.
So 1377 passed, but 1374 is still
In committee.
in committee.
Right.
You're talking about the Richmond area and how a lot of the zoning is going to be based on what they want to do in Richmond. I wonder if that has anything to do with the lobbyists who are special interest groups that are keying in on Richmond, because when I have been to some of the housing meetings in Richmond and other places in Virginia, a lot of the examples that are used in regard to zoning, they're talking about Richmond.
I think it's Richmond. I also think it's Northern Virginia, that some of the delegates that are bringing forth these bills where they would set the zoning statewide. Some of those delegates are in Northern Virginia also. So it's definitely, I'm sure that there's lobbyists involved that you would hate to say that the fact that a developer wanted to be in Lexington and after like several years of trying to figure it out, walked away, And so if developers are having challenges in other larger areas that are more high profile and so forth, developers are certainly getting the ear of policymakers in Richmond.
But you're definitely right about different lobbies, the manufactured housing lobby. There's specifically some bills about that to allow it even in historic districts, and there are home builder lobbies that are influencing some of these decisions.
Keep an eye.
Definitely a tough topic, because even if zoning did change in some way, there still needs to be capital for building materials, enough money to hire people to do the labor, and people with the right skill sets to do the labor. So, I would hope that the General Assembly is looking at some ways to think about those issues too.
Right. And we have First Cities helping to advocate for us, and they have the unique perspective of the cities they work with are like us. They're historic cities, have a little economic disadvantage to them. And so they're trying to protect that some of these bills, which would allow things to happen in historic districts, that would be bad for all the first Virginia cities, and they're advocating on our behalf.
Thank you.
I think it's so important when we go to conferences and go to General Assembly Day, that we bring that information back, because if you keep it to yourself, what's the point of representing your city to go? So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. New business. We have 3 resolutions that need a vote and time for discussion if necessary. So if we could get our city manager to introduce these, please.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. The first resolution is 2026-02, which is to award a contract for the Woods Creek best management practice pond improvements to Ridge Top Excavating. As I detailed in the memorandum, this is a project that is far more expensive than what was originally budgeted. We had budgeted a total of 298,000. No, I'm sorry. I think it was $298,319 for the project. We had received a state grant for 2/3 of that. But this bid came in, the low bid came in at 520,000. Moreover, in talking to the Public Works Director, we'd like to have a project contingency. Obviously, we won't spend it if it's not needed, but we think there might be rock here. And if we run into any rock, would like a contingency of 60,000 to remove that rock. So that would bring the total project cost up to $580,000. So we have a shortfall, and that will be all local expense if you approve this. And so the finance director has developed a plan for how to pay for it. I think there have been some emails today, and if I may, I'll ask Finance Director Jen Bell to speak to this. But before I pass over to Jen, I'd just say that this is a expensive project, but it's important for environmental quality at Woods Creek. This will be a detention pond, so it will remove harmful nutrients from the water. It'll detain water. It'll be dry most of the time. It'll detain water, allow those nutrients to settle. The water will be slowly discharged from the pond into Woods Creek, cleaner and better for the environment than what it would have gone had it not been detained. Periodically, we'll have to maintain and remove some of those nutrients from the detention pond. Again, this is a project that's price crept considerably. And so for that, I wish I had better news, but we're still recommending moving forward with this investment. It serves a 14-acre area of Lexington. We have a map in the packet that shows you the area that drains to this detention pond. And so we're recommending we move forward because of its environmental benefits, even though the fiscal impact is high. Be happy to answer any questions, but before you direct any questions, if Jen could explain the 2021 VRA information regarding our borrowing.
My pleasure. Thank you. The 2021 borrowing that we did for the Diamond Hill area project actually came in under budget. And then in addition, we had very favorable interest earnings. So we still have $753,000 that has not been drawn down yet. And one of the allowable uses of that money is to reimburse ourselves for the first 36 months of interest payments we made on that bond. And so that totals just over $474,000. So I have completed the request that I'll be sending to VRA after I review with the city manager to have those funds released to us.
Any discussion?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Jeremy. Jeremy, Mr. Carroll added one other comment. We are bringing forward our second quarter budget amendment at your meeting on February 19th. We brought this forward in a resolution form because it exceeded the budget. If it had been appropriated and under budget, we would not have needed to bring this forward. We would have had the authority to award the contract. Because it was over budget, we brought it forward for you to consider approval of this evening. In addition to approving it this evening, we will be asking you to go through the process of amending the appropriation ordinance to allow for the disbursement just the way Finance Director Bell just articulated. That should be 2 weeks from tonight.
Thanks for that explanation, because I was wondering why we needed a resolution to approve a contract. So now I know why.
So I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-02 to award the contract to Ridgetop Excavating LLC, not to exceed, is it $583,000? $580,000.
contract.
Okay.
The budget amendment will allow the extra 60,000 should it be needed, then the contract would be amended.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Looks like it was a good value. It's less than half of some of the other bids, so
Mhm.
good.
All right, it's time for a roll call vote. Mr. Betts?
Aye.
Mr. Sigler?
Aye.
Ms. Strong?
Aye.
Mr. Driscoll?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Next is Sister City resolution.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. This is a resolution that is more of a belt and suspenders, I think. Council's already endorsed the concept of a sister cities relationship with your resolution last July, resolution 2025-09. But since that resolution was passed in July, a group of residents has brought forward the idea of partnering with Cherkiv, Ukraine. I'm sure I'm butchering that, so apologies to all the residents of that community. And this is really the next step, which is for the mayor of that community and Mayor Friedman to exchange formal letters of introduction and sort of cement the sister city relationship. That, by sister city regulations, City Sisters protocol, has to be done by the formal leadership of the two communities, which would be the mayors. The mayor is of the community in Ukraine. Mayor Schmetko is in country presently, or about to be in country with visiting Washington, D.C. And the residents who have been working on this have invited him down to Lexington next week. This was in the paper yesterday, and we'll actually be able to do the signing of the formal letters of exchange in person here in Lexington, I believe on Tuesday next week. So this is pretty exciting, and I commend the group that's been working on this. The one thing that I will say, and I think we heard loud and clear from council when you passed the resolution in July, that we want this to be a resident-led engagement, and that but this has to be a formal government-to-government exchange of information. But I have continued to convey to our residents, we're very supportive, but we expect you to be the lead and to take the primary responsibility in terms of funding, cultural exchange, that this is not going to be something that takes away from the already full work plan that you have established for the city of Lexington.
And they are in agreement with that?
I'm gonna have to say yes. Yeah, I think, yeah.
Thank you. Comments? Ready for a vote?
Well, I'll make the motion
Second.
to approve the resolution of the City Council of the City of Lexington
Got a motion.
establishing a sister city relationship with Kharkiv, Ukraine.
There you go. Thank you so much. Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. Roll call vote. Ms. Strawn,
Aye.
Mr. Sigler,
Aye.
Mr. Betts, Mr. Driscoll,
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
I vote aye. This motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next is the resolution expressing support for the passage of House Bill 344.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. This is a resolution that it would, if you adopt it, we will express our support for this House bill to the General Assembly. House Bill 344 would basically empower cities and counties, if they so choose, to refer to the electorate of that respective community the option to impose, if the voters approve it, a 1% optional sales tax, which has to get placed into a separate dedicated fund, and that fund can only be used for school construction. This is important to Lexington. It's important to many communities across the Commonwealth. But as I state in the memorandum, we have in the next 5-year capital improvement program anywhere from, well, we have about $8 million of identified projects, capital projects between Rockbridge High School and the two schools in Lexington. So this is a funding source that doesn't exist today for Lexington, and that if the state empowered localities to do this, we could place this issue. Your decision would be to place it in front of the voters, and then the voters ultimately would get to decide if they want to tax themselves this 1%. Presently, we don't have that power. We have the clear $8 million of need, but we don't have this authority. House Bill 344 has passed the House already and is now going over to the Senate. If it becomes law this year, I think we can all attribute it to passage of this resolution just before you tonight. So hopefully you'll endorse this. We'll be able to take credit for the success across the state of Virginia. Happy to answer any questions.
I know when there was some offline discussions about the 1% funding being able to use for school construction, and there was a question on whether those funds could be used for construction outside the locality and specifically the high school. And that's all been cleaned up so that allows us to do what we want to do for the high school support.
Yes, we believe so. I think the language has been drafted by a colleague of yours on one side of you, that it should be serving the community instead of located within. And Rockbridge County High School serves Lexington, even though it's not within our school district boundaries. And that language is still in this House bill that was recommended. One other thing, if I may, just real quickly, we've been adding both environmental impact statements and equity statements to our staff reports. And I want to just point out that we often don't have anything to speak to in terms of equity or environmental impacts. We do sometimes, but I think it's an important exercise. I simply wanted to draw your attention to the equity impact statement because in this case, I think there's no argument that the equity impact is negative. Sales taxes are regressive. They disproportionately impact people who are lower on the income spectrum than people who are more affluent. There is some relief provided in Virginia on sales taxes on groceries and other day-to-day necessities, personal hygiene items. But I think we should just recognize and understand that there is a negative equity impact for people. But I think that's offset by the fact that Lexington will receive, if this bill becomes law and if the voters approve it, we will receive sales tax income to the city from a broader tax base than our residents themselves. So we get that as a tourist, visitor, and university community. I simply wanted to point that out because it's not often that we have something that we recognize as a negative impact on equity, but there's a reason from why we are addressing that.
I think another important thing to recognize with this is that ultimately the voters of the locality will get a decision on what to do with this. So ultimately, democracy in action if this passes.
What would be, if it passes, would it come up in November?
It'd be up to council when you refer it to the electorate. I think what we would be wise to do, let's assume that the General Assembly passes it. I think we'll have to fully understand the bill, the final bill, and then figure out exactly when we will expect that we'll need revenue. Because the funding that we need for FY 27's capital, council's already set money aside for the recreation center and our obligations for that through the school capital fund, as well as the capital construction grant that we received 2 years ago that has just been set aside for these purposes. So we don't need this in 2027. Okay. Having said that, we may want to collect it if it's your desire to refer to the voters, start to collect it so we start to build up money and we wouldn't have to borrow as much. Another thing, these are all future policy discussions, but it would be possible with the identified needs that a sales tax such as this, we could place it in front of the voters and it could sunset after 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it determines, because we will have fully funded all the school needs. And when that has been fulfilled, the tax could fall off. that's a policy decision that could be in front of you, but it's there in the future.
If you did it in that way, could it be brought back up later to okay.
And really, since it will go to a referendum, we have to sell it
Yeah.
to our community. So we do need a plan and to show them how the funds will be used.
Right now, at this level, we may not hear much feedback from the public, but once it gets to a referendum, we've got to educate the public on how this impacts or not impacts various targeted groups. And if it's going to keep us from having to increase the real estate tax for construction, that's a win for many, many people. Any other comments, questions? What's your pleasure?
Make a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-04 to support House Bill 344.
Second,
We have Frank's dueling seconds going on here. Thank you for the motion and the second. Any further discussion? Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Mr. Driscoll,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Betts,
Aye.
Mr. Sigler,
Aye.
Ms. Strong.
aye.
I vote aye. This passes unanimously. Thank you. And we don't have a closed meeting tonight. And the time is 8:21. And I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor.
Good use of